Have you ever woken up from a dream that was just so bizarre, so vivid, you thought, there's no way anyone else has ever dreamed that? Well, what if I told you that some of our absolute weirdest dreams are actually incredibly common? Today, we're going to unravel a really fascinating mystery. Why do people all over the world and all throughout history seem to have the exact same strange dreams? I mean, really think about it. You know that sudden stomach-in-your-throat feeling of just plummeting through empty space, and then you jolt awake right before you hit the ground? If that sounds familiar, you are so not alone, not by a long shot. This is one of the most classic dream experiences a person can have.
And these aren't just random common dreams. Researchers actually have a name for them: typical dreams. You can almost think of them as a kind of universal dream language. You know, that heart-pounding feeling of being chased, the sheer frustration of failing a test you didn't study for, or the absolute terror of being frozen in place. These are fundamental stories our brains tell us at night.
And this isn't some new thing either. We're talking studies from all over the globe. The US, Japan, Germany, China, they all show that people are reporting the exact same themes. It seems like the core patterns of these dreams are just a fundamental part of being human, something that cuts right through culture and time. So the big question is, why? And check this out. This data really shows you just how stable this whole phenomenon is. Researchers in Germany ran surveys over a 44-year period, and the results are kind of wild. Look at the numbers. The percentage of people dreaming about being paralyzed or falling or being chased, it barely changed at all. I mean, think of all the massive changes in society between 1956 and the year 2000, and yet these core dream experiences stayed almost exactly the same. So, to really understand these specific dreams, we kind of have to zoom out for a second and ask a bigger question. Why do we even dream in the first place? Scientists have been going back and forth on this for centuries, and while there's no single, simple answer, there are a few major theories that give us a place to start. Most of the theories today see dreaming as a really vital job our brain does. It's how we sort through memories from the day, how we process tough emotions, and it can even be where we get our creative sparks. Some even think it's like the brain's cleanup crew, getting rid of useless connections. But for a long time, the most popular explanation for these typical dreams we've been talking about has been the idea of metaphor. So for ages, this was the go-to explanation. The idea is that the dream isn't literal, right? A falling dream doesn't actually mean you're worried about heights. It's a symbol for feeling insecure or like you don't have enough support at your job. Or a dream about being chased is just a metaphor for running away from a problem in your real life. It's a neat and tidy explanation.
But what if it's not that complicated? What if the answer isn't buried deep in our subconscious anxieties, but is actually way more direct? There's this fascinating new theory that suggests these dreams aren't metaphors for our feelings at all. Instead, they're our brain's direct interpretation of what our body is physically doing while we sleep.
And this question really just cuts right to the chase. What if, instead of our brain translating a feeling into a weird symbol, it's actually just trying to make sense of a real physical sensation it's experiencing right then and there in the middle of the night? Okay, this slide lays out the two ideas perfectly. You've got the old symbolic view and the new perceptual one. The new theory basically says a falling dream isn't some deep metaphor for insecurity. It's just the story your brain cooks up to explain the dizzying feeling you get from a physical jolt, like that twitch you sometimes get when you're drifting off to sleep. So here's the big takeaway. Your dreaming mind is actually perceiving what's happening to your physical body. It's not just making up stories out of nothing. It's building a narrative to explain real internal physical feelings. And honestly, this idea is a total game changer for how we think about these universal dreams. All right, so let's take this new idea for a spin. Let's use it as a key to unlock 3 of the most common and powerful typical dreams: being paralyzed, falling, and flying.
First up, that absolutely terrifying dream where you're trying to run or scream or just move a single muscle, but you're completely, utterly frozen. It's a classic nightmare, and so many of us have had it. So, what's the physical signal behind this one? The answer is something called REM atonia. You see, during REM sleep, which is when we have our most vivid dreams, your brainstem basically flips a switch that relaxes your muscles, paralyzing your body. And this is actually a really important safety feature. It's what stops you from literally jumping out of bed and trying to fight a monster when you're dreaming.
And there you have it. Sometimes, during a dream, your brain sends the command to move, but it gets no response from your body because of that safety switch, REM atonia. So the brain perceives this complete disconnect, this inability to move, and it does what it does best.
It builds a story to make sense of it. You're stuck in mud, you're tied down, or you're just frozen with fright.
Okay, next up, the classic falling dream. We've all been there, that heart-stopping, breathtaking plunge into nothing.
The physical trigger here is usually what's called a hypnic jerk. As you're shifting between sleep stages, your nervous system can kind of misfire, causing a big muscle twitch. This jolt messes with your inner ear's sense of balance, and bam, you get this powerful, disorienting feeling of vertigo. Your body is literally startled awake.
So, your brain gets hit with this intense feeling of vertigo and a physical shock all at once. What's the best story it can come up with to explain that combination? Falling. It's the most direct, logical interpretation of the physical data it's getting. See the shift? The feeling is actually the cause of the dream, not the other way around.
And finally, let's look at one of the most amazing, exhilarating dreams we can have. Flying. That incredible, weightless feeling of just soaring through the sky. Now, the signal behind this dream is super cool. During REM sleep, the part of your brain that controls your balance, your vestibular system, can just light up with activity. This creates a really strong sensation that you're moving. But at the exact same time, your body's completely motionless because of that REM atonia we talked about.
This creates a really interesting puzzle for your dreaming brain. It's getting these strong signals saying, we're moving from the balance system, but it's also getting signals from the body saying, nope, we're perfectly still. So how does it solve this paradox? It creates the experience of effortless flight, movement without actually having to move your body. The dream is this brilliant way of combining two totally contradictory signals into one, often incredible, experience.
So, whether our dreams are deep metaphors or just our brain's perception of the body, one thing is totally clear. They matter a lot. They aren't just random, meaningless movies our brain puts on every night. They actually serve some really critical functions for our overall health.
Dreaming helps us learn by locking in new memories. It gives us a safe space to work through difficult emotions from our day. It can be a powerhouse for creativity, connecting ideas in ways we never would when we're awake. There's even something called the threat simulation theory, which suggests that nightmares about being chased are like a fire drill for your mind, a way to practice your survival instincts so you're better prepared for danger in real life. And all this brings us to one last, pretty deep question. If dreams about flying and falling are just our brain's best guess at interpreting real physical sensations, kind of like how our waking brain interprets light and sound, then how different are these two states of mind, really? Maybe dreaming isn't some separate, magical world, but just another way our brain perceives reality. One from the outside in and one from the inside out. It's a fascinating thought to sleep on, isn't it?